Welcome to the Global Security Sales Organizations course on Cisco Umbrella. So my name is Rob Gregg. I'm a channel systems engineer on the Cisco Umbrella team. And today I'm going to be presenting to you the module regarding the demonstration of Cisco Umbrella. So the key thing to remember here is that this is how to demo this product as part of a sales motion. This isn't going to be an in-depth technical product training. This is sales training. It's for an audience of technical people who are hoping to present Cisco Umbrella in a kind of clear and concise method to potential customers. So the agenda for this session is, first of all, we're going to start with an overview, an idea of what it is I'm hoping that you'll get from this session and the takeaways. Then we're going to cover the Umbrella demo dashboard, a little bit of information about what's inside it and how you access it. And then finally, we will finish on a demonstration of the dashboard itself. So the learning objectives. At the end of this module, I hope that you should be able to talk about the various different deployment methods for Cisco Umbrella. I'd also like you to be able to discuss Umbrella integrations, how they work and what they're for. I'd like you to talk about the Umbrella policy construction tool, including a brief explanation of what we call the intelligent proxy and the IP layer enforcement. And then finally, I'd like you to be able to explain the Umbrella reporting capabilities. So throughout this session, I'm going to be using the Cisco Umbrella demo dashboard. So this is a read-only environment that we provide to partner SEs. And to get access to this, you need to complete some video on demands and some online training. There's information about this in the Cisco Umbrella partner portal. This dashboard is pre-populated, essentially. We pre-populate it with a variety of different deployment methods. All the deployment methods, there's examples of in there. We have some pre-built policies with a number of different settings, give you an idea about the kind of things you can do here. We've deployed several of the third-party integrations. And then finally, it's populated on the reports end of things too. So we've populated this with a wide range of traffic, both benign and malicious. We feed this traffic in on the back end. It's key to say there's no real-world traffic here. We generate this and just push it into the platform. So the first thing you see when you log into the demo dashboard is this overview window here. Now, what I tend to do when I'm demonstrating this is I'll point out some key points here. I'll say, okay, you can have a little bit of information on the malware requests from malware domains from your environment, botnet requests, command and control requests contained, bit of a view of what's happening and how things have changed over the last 24 hours. I'll point out that you can dig into this to get rid of a little bit more information or add more information in. It's completely up to you. And then finally, there's a bit of information on the top domains that are being called to and the top identities. Now, we're going to be going further into reporting later on, so I'd always skip over this. But it's useful to point out how you can get this sort of bird's eye view when you first log in. But we'll come to the fuller reporting capabilities a little later on. So the first step here, it would be to talk about deployment. So I'd always talk about the network level deployment first. So this is one of the big wins for Cisco Umbrella. It's how simple we are to deploy. So our network level deployment, all you need to do is name the network, enter the IP address that your DNS requests exit the internet and hit our resolvers from. It's probably not going to be 4.3.2.1. But once that's done, you just save that. You just click save. You go to your local DNS servers and you forward DNS requests to the Cisco Umbrella IP addresses. It's as simple as that. So this can take minutes. I always stress that at this point. I'll talk about how Cisco deployed Umbrella across the global Cisco network in a matter of minutes, and how we've seen sort of major multinational organizations deploy across hundreds of countries in less than an hour. It's a big win for us there. Now, policy is applied immediately, and reporting takes a little while longer to begin, but you'll immediately start seeing protection. So the next thing I'd jump to here would be our roaming client. So the network level deployment is very good and then very, very quick and very easy and very effective. But in that level of deployment, you don't really get much in the way of granularity. So the big way we have for dealing with that is our roaming client. So this is a very lightweight DNS forwarding tool. It basically sits on your endpoint and it forces DNS requests to the Cisco Umbrella global network. But it also enriches those requests with a little piece of identifying network information, rather. So when our resolvers see that request, they can associate it with the host name of this given machine. So this allows you to A, have reporting around that, those DNS requests, but B, build policy around that. Now, on top of this, this also allows you to extend this protection off-site with zero additional latency. So, traditionally, you'd have to VPN back into this network to see the benefit of the sort of network level coverage. Here, we can provide that coverage no matter where your user is. So as I said, very lightweight tool. It's about a 3 meg file. It's never going to get significantly bigger. All it does is takes over your local DNS and sends those DNS requests to the Cisco Umbrella global network. If the ports are available to it, it will encrypt those requests. If not, they're just standard port 53. And that's about it, really. So this is it's for Windows or it's for Mac OS X. We tend to find that Windows environments people will deploy via GPO. We have instructions in an article and also in a file that comes with a download. But it's an MSI file, so any deployment tool will work here. The same on OS X, that's just a DMG. So on top of that, we do have an additional deployment capability, which is integration directly into AnyConnect. So if you are running AnyConnect 4.3 MR1 or above, the roaming client will essentially appear as an additional module in AnyConnect. So there's a number of ways you can make that behave. You can have it so the roaming client is applying protection on the DNS layer wherever you are. You can have it so it only kicks in when the VPN is disabled. You can have it so it backs off when you're on network. Any number of methods of deployment there. So the big win we see there is, say to them, your users probably aren't turning on their VPN all the time. I know that users weren't doing that back when I used to work in an IT department. This is a very effective way of seeing, providing additional security, policy enforcement, and having logging, even when those users turn off that VPN, with no need for a third party, for an additional client. So we'll talk a little bit about the policy construction tool we have here. So this is fairly standard. I'm sure you'll have seen similar things to this before. Start at the top, work your way down. The first policy you end on, that's the policy that applies to you. The first window in policy construction allows you to choose the identities this policy will apply to. The second allows you to choose things like the content filtering capabilities. You can do some sort of category-based content filtering and the domain-based content filtering. So that's both allowing domains and blocking domains, the destinations in general. The really interesting stuff here comes in our security settings. So you can see here that we actually categorize our security blocks into one or two categories. First of all, prevent. So we define this as we're stopping users hitting a domain where they may become infected. So a malware drop site, drive-by download, malvertising, something along those lines. And the other category is what we call contain. So in this category, we basically contain a DNS request towards something malicious from within your environment. So it's a botnet running inside there. It's a phishing link that's landed in your email. Cisco Umbrella will block that request and stop it calling out. So the key thing to say is you may notice that this is blocking by default. There's no option to overrule that. Any domain that's added to one of our allow lists will always overrule a block. We don't want to be blocking a business critical domain for our customers, so you can always overrule that if you believe that you're 100% sure. So a few additional features here. This high-risk sites, so this is more to the sort of bleeding edge of the Umbrella intelligence. Slightly higher false positive rate here, still very low. I'd always recommend users turn that on, and this is also where you'd enable the third-party integrations. We'll come back to them shortly. So the next thing we talk about here would be the intelligent proxy. So the intelligent proxy is essentially when you make a DNS request to Cisco Umbrella, we do one of three things. We either resolve that domain with the correct IP, let you get to the site, let you get to the domain. We return the IP of a block page, but the third option is that we can return the IP of a proxy. So let's say we believe domain.com to be largely benign, but we think domain.com/ransomware is not so good. In that case, a DNS layer block could be applied, but we can get a little bit more granular using this intelligent proxy. What we'll actually do is we'll return the IP for a proxy session. Your user will be proxied around that domain until they get to / ransomware, at which point then they'll see a block page. We can also do this with HTTPS traffic. That involves the installation of a root certificate. It's very simple. We have instructions on how to do that here. The additional thing here would be what we call our IP layer enforcement. So the vast majority of threats out there are still using domains because it's a very versatile, very agile way of hosting malicious infrastructure. But there are some things still using IP connections. So we wanted to fill that gap. Essentially what we do here is you do need the roaming client for this. The reason being we essentially download a list of malicious IPs to that roaming client and just block them using that. So next setting here would be our, the next page here would be our block page settings, and this allows you to define how blocks will be dealt with. By default, we have a default message and an OpenDNS logo, so it's Cisco umbrella logo rather. You can also have an admin email for blocked users to contact, a custom block page message, or redirect users to a given URL that you specify. We can do deal with different types of blocks differently, so category and destination list blocks. You might want to redirect to an acceptable use policy, phishing to a bit of phishing education. We give you that versatility. And of course, you can have different block page settings for each of your policies here. The final setting here would be the level of logging you're going to have. So in this case, this is, you might want to say on site have all the DNS and all destination requests logged. Off site, you might want to just have security-based ones logged. You can do that through multiple policies here. So the next thing I'd like to talk about here would be our integrations. So Umbrella is actually, we want to be open. We understand that, people have multiple tools here and we want to be able to integrate with those tools. So let's say you have bought AMP-ThreatGrid. What Umbrella can do is it can essentially ingest a feed of destinations, domains from AMP-ThreatGrid there and enforce upon them for your OpenDNS deployment globally. So this is an easy way of automating the protection of these advanced security tools you've got and essentially multiplying your investment. So let's say you bought a checkpoint anti-bot blade. Your users would only see the benefit of them when they're behind it. Using Umbrella, you can essentially take a feed from there and push that deployment, that protection out to your users no matter where they are. So your CEO running the roaming client in the airport is going to see the benefit of that investment you've made without the need for additional latency. No need to VPN back in. So the next thing to jump over to here would be our reporting. So by default, we're going to bring you to a sort of security overview. We allow you to have, by default, it'll be 24 days, but we have a number of different lengths you can have here. This tells you the sort of blocks and the kind of traffic patterns you're seeing, a bit of information about the security events that are coming from your environment and the identities making the most requests. It looks like maybe it's time to re-image Marcus's machine, perhaps. But it'll also give you information on what's active and what's become inactive in your environment. So it's a quick way to see, okay, are our roaming users, have any roaming clients been uninstalled, and is on our network still active? Beyond that, we do an overview of every DNS request received from a given environment. You can focus that down. Let's have a look and see what Marcus has been up to. You can search for particular security category types or content filtering category types. If you find a report you like, you can then schedule that, have it arrive daily, weekly, monthly, whenever you want. Share a link with another admin. Save this report into your My Reports section, or download it as a CSV. There's a few other interesting things we have here. We can actually we provide something we call a security insight report. So what this does is it essentially gives you a bit of information we have about any given domain. If we have this domain associated with a particular threat, we'll tell you that here. And we'll give you a bit of information on the host, a bit of information on the identities making requests. The really interesting thing you can do here is you can actually layer requests from within your deployment over global requests that are hitting the Cisco umbrella and the OpenDNS infrastructure. So OpenDNS as a whole have 65 million active DNS users. So why is this useful? Let's say that OpenDNS are seeing 1,000 requests globally, and 90% of those requests are coming from within your environment, it's an indicator that perhaps this is something that's targeted directly at you. It's a good way of prioritizing sort of incident response. So another interesting report we have here is what we call our cloud services report. So this essentially, that's what it sounds like. It reports on cloud services that have been called to from within your environment. So a few use cases here. Let's say Tumblr has a data breach. You can click through and see which users have been using Tumblr. Let's say that you've decided that internally Dropbox is your cloud storage solution of choice. You can come in here and see who's using Box, and then either go and have a word with this customer or just out and out block the domain for them. It's completely up to you. So it's a good way of getting visibility of what's happening with these cloud services within your environment, and also just getting an insight in sort of shadow IT. On top of that, we also provide reporting on Internet of Things domains calling from within your environment. So this is another useful bit of visibility. I think as these sort of Internet of Things devices infiltrate the workplace, I think people are going to become more and more interested in seeing what's happening there, and we provide this for our reports. So that is a sort of overview of how to demo Umbrella in a kind of quick, concise method. We've covered the core feature sets there. There are a few other things sort of deep in the weeds, but we'd recommend them for more of an in-depth dive. That's about the end of the how to demo the Cisco Umbrella dashboard. Thank you very much for your time.